In the 2024 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Chop Robinson.
We're going to Miami!
Chop Robinson, when he was picked, so many Dolphin fans were ultra high, and actually there was a bunch of fans very unhappy. I think they're in the middle ground. There's a lot of fans like, I get the pick, kind of like the pick, but I would like to pick something else. So, but in the end, when you see Chop Robinson's production towards the middle-ish to the end of the season, he's up for the Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's got to be a good feeling for Dolphins. Not saying it's great, but it's certainly a good story. And we Dolphin fans, we struggle with good things. I keep hearing over and over again the saying, Dolphins aren't allowed to have good things. This is a good thing. Chop Robinson is what I want to cover here today. I want to go over why we should be happy in the pass rush. Show the other options maybe we could have gone with just for context, because I like to be fair. And then I'm going to show the things he really needs to work on, and I'm going to use some film and stuff for a pretty solid, hopefully fast-paced, feel good, but hey, look, we got to look at this type podcast. So that's what's going to be on the menu today. Now, before I get into the podcast, I got to say a few things. Guys, I'm moving the live from Friday night to Monday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. It just seems a better time. A lot of people thought that might be a better time. And people like to go out. Football's in sort of a dead zone, and so I thought that was a better time. So come check us out there. Going to have the guys. We'll go answer your questions. And I also have very, very fortunate, very, very kind of Ryder McConneville. He's going to come on. We're going to do a interview with him, go through what he's seeing, how he goes through his process. The guy's a nice guy, smart guy, works real hard, puts together some great info for the Dolphins, and he was kind enough to come hang with Curtis for a little bit. So that'll be next week. Also, I did my podcast where I got checked by Odaris DeHady. He's a Division I cornerback. So we're going to do a very special thing together. I'm going to use him as a teacher to help us learn some stuff about football. I know I'm going to learn, so come check that out. Last, don't forget, I'm trying. I'm an artist and an athlete, but I'm learning how to do this gig. And the likes, the subscribes, the comments, the views, all that stuff keeps me in the biz to do what I want to do here, is to keep them happy so I can keep giving you coverage. So please help me out with that if you can. So I want to give you a shout out and a shout out to Ace Bread, my sponsor, because without the two of you, this show ain't going down. Ace Bread's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, so I like Chop. I always liked Chop. I didn't necessarily love Chop as a total player package. I thought, and I think like most of us, he could be a very good situational pass rusher. The current concern was to expand his tool set. But now in retrospect, I'm going to go over some of the options that we could have had just to put it out there, because we've got to evaluate fairly. And I don't like blowing people up, like Chop is changing the way the NFL plays stuff. Stupid stuff that people say to get clicks and it disappears. I want to be fair. So Barton, who Tampa drafted, was a very big hot button player for a lot of guys. I was a little concerned. I thought he was more-ish in the Brewer level, where he didn't really handle power so much, and I thought him and Brewer really wouldn't be the guy. I wasn't so big on Barton. I think he's a good player, but I think he has some of the strengths and weaknesses of Brewer, but he would have boosted a weakness, and he has played well. Not great, but well. Powers Jackson was another guy I liked. I liked him more because he brought more of the junk in the trunk type, and he could play center and he could play guard. He ended up playing some center and then guard with Vegas, and he played pretty well, almost to the same level Barton. Dare say a little bit better. And he would have been a nice pick because he would have helped boost the weakness as well. Now, Quinion Mitchell wasn't on my radar, but he should have been. And he probably would have been a better pick for us. He was taken right after us. Allowed us to move off Fuller. It would have allowed Ramsey some flexibility with him. It would have boosted the defensive back group. And these are critical players, hard to find. And this guy is a stud. He's with Chop in the Defensive Rookie of the Year award. Brian Thomas, that's a guy too, I thought, because I wanted to get off Hill. I don't like being locked into him. I don't like that Hill and Waddle share too many of the similar skill sets. And Brian Thomas Jr. is a big guy who could have helped us move off Hill, save a lot of money, likely get a better team guy, and got us vertical. And so I think that could have been a better move too. But we got to see how it plays out. Cooper DeJean, he was taken in the second round. We weren't taking him where we were, but he's played like maybe we should. And now that we're going to lose Holland, and I want to lose Holland, I'm not really big on Holland anymore, and we have nobody really else in the safety spot, he could have boosted a weakness this season and been a good player for us, and so maybe you could put him up there. Now, the guy I really wanted, but the draft day kind of shook it out, was Devondre Sweat. That was the guy I really wanted the most. I've always loved these big DTs. We've missed on them so many years over the top guys, whether it's Lawrence, whether it's Nagata, on and on. I thought him in the center would have allowed Sealer to play out wider. It would have attacked the cycle shift of moving to pass balance. It would have helped us incredibly on defense. I think he would have been a better pick for us. Now, that's debatable, but the DWI, whatever, driving Y, whatever, kind of dropped him down. Not too far. I mean, we could have grabbed him and looked brilliant, but we didn't, and I understand sort of why. But that was the guy that I liked. So here's the Defensive Rookie of the Year chart, and you can see Chop is right there. He's number 3. Jared Verse is a better player at this stage. The guy is a monster. He's almost special. The way he takes over games, he can play to run, he can play to pass. You see him at minus 921. Quinion Mitchell, 660. He's rated higher than us substantially. Den Robinson, Fisk, and Cooper DeJean. So you could see, but Chop has done a phenomenal job. Most of it's driven, as I'm going to show you, through his pass rush, which is great. But that other side, the yin and yang, you've got to be a yin and yang player to whatever you want, more yin, more yang, whatever. But you got to have both yin and yang to really be a great player. So you can look right here. His QB time to pressure, his QB pressure rate was 17.2%. Now, as a reflection of our team, Brooks was 29%, but a third of the pass rush attempts. And so the less pass rush attempts, the more success inflates it. So he had a lot of pass rushes. That's a nice pressure percent. You can see Sealy here, who had more pass rushes at 9%. And being interior, that says a lot too. Sacks, 6 sacks for Chop, 3 for Brooks, 10 for Sealer, just for fleshing this thing out. Time to sacks, 4.98 is a little high. And when you go, I'll see some of it in the film, but a lot of the sacks were him getting there, creating pressure, and then in the scrum chasing him down, and that kind of drove it up. See Brooks at 5.56, but a lot of times they were like delayed blitzes, and he's playing farther back, just as context. And then Sealer 4.09, which is outstanding, but he's at the line of scrimmage. He's got the most direct path, and so you got to use that as context. Now, time to pressure was very good, 2.77. Brooks 2.67 because, sometimes he's blitzing and it's a late blitz, and then there's nobody there, and he's shooting gaps. So you got to add that in there. And then Sealer, to come from inside with more pass rushes than Chop and to be 2.82, 0.05 seconds more, talks about how awesome Sealer was. But both Chop and Sealer had phenomenal times to pressure. Now the get off, and there's a couple other stats that show that this kid Chop is special in a particular category. His get off was 0.76 seconds. Very, very high in the league. But just as examples of all the greats of where he's at, Will Anderson is 0.75. A little bit bigger player, but they're in that same area. Hendrickson from the Bengals, bigger guy, 0.73. Bosa, Garrett, 0.7. And unbelievable Miller at 0.69. Now, you got to remember, the get-off, sometimes it comes down to being a veteran and being able to pay attention to those snap counts and then using your brain along with your agility and explosive power. So Chop's going to get better at this. His raw rookie get-off rate is extraordinarily high. Now, the key thing for Chop, and that we all kind of know, was his quick pressure rate. He had 24 pressures that were quick pressures, and it was 14th best in the league. This fueled his season, fueled his Defensive Rookie of the Year push. Now, on the negative side, you'll see he only had 20 stops, but only 162 rush downs. And Phillips was the same way. He had great pass rush, but he kept getting pulled out. People were saying, because Flores is a bad guy. No, they knew he couldn't stop the run. He knew he wasn't consistent. Pull him out in the red zone. And so he didn't have a lot of run stop snaps, but ultimately the production wasn't high. He wasn't putting in a lot of run stops. And that's the major piece where he's got to go. The next is missed tackles. He had 9 missed tackles, 33%, which is bad. You'll see in the film coming up. He's got to work on his tackling. He's very tentative in his tackling. It was only 19th, his tackles of 13 on the Dolphins. Not good. Again, the snap counts were low. He had 5 assists. And then when you factor in those 9 missed tackles, that's big. For me, when I look at him at this stage, I see Melvin Ingram, an outside linebacker, tweener between the linebacker and D-end. Great pass rush, but they've got to develop. And Melvin Ingram developed into a very good player over time. And that's who I see Chop could be. I do think he could be a little bit more, but this run stop part of the game, his tackling, is going to play a huge part to this. See here against Dawkins, quick move, little step inside, gets that pressure, and then you can see he gets the sack. He condenses down the edge. He's part of the reason maybe why Allen couldn't throw that pass. I think definite. And then there was some pressure there, and he gets that sack. Started with his pressure, but ultimately it was his hustle, and that's a big piece to him. He could see at the edge, quick inside move, and this is really, I mean, this is not a great tackle, but just beats him. Too tentative. And I think a lot of what these tackles are going to have to do is get out there and attack him. You can't sit back with him. Very nice pass rush. And again, here you can see he gets a little handle, drives the inside, and rolls out and gets the sack. Inside here is Noah Phillips thing on the stunt inside, chases the quarterback out, misses the tackle, comes back and gets in on the sack. And so that's a lot of what you saw with Chop. He has still a limited repertoire. He's going to have to get a little bit stronger. He's going to have to add some moves. But again, remember Phillips, how much he grew. I still think it's a shame. Phillips is a better, higher ceiling player. Taller, unbelievable get off. And before he got injured, his run stop, his pass rush, this guy was verging on an absolute beast. I do think his ceiling is a little bit higher than Chop, but Chop's health is much higher than Phillips historically. Let's hope it is as far as production. Let's hope Phillips gets back to that. But Phillips made a ton of growth. He learned so much. You could see him stringing together moves. Chop is really basically using just physical moves, the in and out, the burst around, a little bit of the bull rush, but there's not much more than that. But he can grow a ton, and this can enhance. And it's got to if he wants to go from a good situational pass rusher to a great situational pass rusher, and then add in the great whole play with the tackling on the defense, run stops. Now here's some of the stuff we saw in the run game. And you see he comes down the line here, and he gets chopped or chipped. He's on the ground, but then he's up again very fast. His hustle and agility gets in for the assist. Now, again, you see on this one, he's coming for cleanup. You can't leave this guy naked too fast. Gets down the line of scrimmage, but watch his targeting. You see, He hits a little tentative. He arm tackles. He doesn't really connect, but he's good at the arm tackle, makes the tackle there. I'd like to see him blast the running back. Again, you can see it here. Now he's playing coverage, and you watch his drops. His drops look pretty good. He looks comfortable. He looks to the right to check the coverage, comes back to the center. Missed tackle by Holland, one of the many. But you can see he just kind of drags him down. I would love to see him blast. He's a much bigger guy. Blast this guy. Again, you see here, he's getting washed down the line of scrimmage, but he breaks the tight end and then leg tackles. He's just a little tentative. I like to see him target better. And that's the thing. It usually takes these young guys time to grow in their run stop. To be able to hold up, you've got to get strong. You've got to get more physical. You've got to get more committed. And then the targeting factor. The game moves much faster. And so this is really where Chop needs to go from good pick to great pick. Will he? I don't know. I think Greer could have done better unless Chop puts it all together, kind of like Phillips did. But this is a good moment. We should enjoy it. He's a guy who will be here. He's a guy who's looked very healthy. Again, I do think Greer could have done better, but he could have done a lot worse, guys. He's with Jared Verse, and that's a lot, and that's something you should be proud of, something you should be happy with. And let's just try to be happy. Some people had the evaluation right. Some people had it wrong. We got some stuff here. Year 2 is a huge year. Let's see how he does. Curtis saying, be well, go Fins. Curtis out. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.